So, how about artist statements all over the board?
Yep.
The funniest artist statement I ever heard was somebody who applied to Fort Worth the first year with Zap. And his artist statement was, please choose me. It would be an opportunity of a lifetime.
Well, that's honest.
And that stopped the jury. I mean, they cracked up.
Oscar, on the booth shot you sent me,
Mhm.
I would because I've done one really similar to that, and I put my chair in the back where the opening is.
Well, I cannot do that anymore because I was during the show. So, and I put the pictures again in the back, but I just put it in the shot, but I put it, I forgot to, I pick out the wrong image to fix. So,
Yeah, he keeps sending me every week. He sends me booth pictures and
I'm trying to
asks
figure
me
out how
if it's
to,
better.
yeah, just trying to see which one is good.
And they're all good.
So,
Just a little bit of tweaking.
yeah. So this is the one from this weekend, and I forgot to, I put fix the image in the back, and I forgot, and I grabbed the wrong image for the one with the zipper was not close in the back. So, and Barry doesn't like the grass.
Very doesn't matter.
I know. It's just the way I like it.
Hey, we should tell you before you open your mouth, we're recording.
I saw that. It came up. It comes
Okay.
up.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Barry, you're getting your Einstein look back.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. I had a haircut and 6 weeks ago, and I I'll let it grow for another week, and then I'll go to my person and because I told her that I wouldn't wait 6 months like I usually do.
Well, Friday is Einstein's birthday, so you have to leave it like it is until then.
Yeah.
Hey, Allison.
Barry, they have people that do reenactments of famous characters go around
Yeah,
to schools and stuff.
yeah.
You should
I
do
knew
that.
it'd be supplemental income that I might
Yeah.
need. Also, I could do Mark Twain too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a dual. I have a dual role.
Two
Actually,
curmudgeons.
there is no such person as Mark Twain.
Samuel Clemens.
Right.
Okay, what does Mark Twain mean?
That's the thing about seeing how far you've gotten with the ferry or whatever, the river boats.
The depth.
Indication of depth.
Well, that could fit. We're all a bunch of codgers, old codgers,
No, well, I think Allison is probably the baby now, but it was
Oscar.
Oscar for a while.
Yeah.
I don't think that
I think
Allison is that
Oscar
much.
is.
No, I think that Allison is. I think she's younger than me by 2 years.
Really?
No, I think maybe I think we're the same age or maybe by a year.
Maybe Janine there. I don't know. There we go.
Hey, Teresa's birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, happy
Yeah.
Hey,
birthday.
happy birthday.
And I get to be codger of the year.
Fantastic. Better you than me. Although, Oscar's starting to take up the mantle of whining and complaining to everywhere. I don't have to say anything to any show directors or anything because Oscar's covering it. And
I
it
don't know.
didn't take him long. It only took him like 6 months to get a taste of it, and now he totally understands what's going on.
It's not even funny.
Please
what's
tell me
going
today is
on?
not the 11th. Is today the 11th?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Suck. What is the ask the pseudo director meeting?
Tonight,
Tonight at 7 o'clock.
What time? What
I'll
time?
make it.
7.
7 o'clock.
7
Eastern,
Eastern
right?
time.
Is that
Yeah.
Eastern time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I might. I don't know if I can make it. I have I have one question to ask. Well, actually, there's three, but I'll take one. What are the qualifications for becoming a director? That's the question I want to ask them.
Whatever the board sets.
That's right. That's right.
In 2009, West staff flew me out to Denver to consult. And Anthony Radish, who was the director at the time, took me out to dinner and he offered me a show director position.
Where? Which one?
He knew of shows looking for directors,
Oh,
but I
it's a
turned him
little.
down
Yeah.
because I'd have to move and it would also put me on the other side of the fence. I'd rather be an advocate for getting artists into shows.
But if you were on the other side of the fence, you could make your show artist friendly.
Well, I could, but at the time I couldn't move.
We need more of that.
That's
Well, the
right.
thing's like you can do so much for being
Only
artist
if you have the
friendly.
budget.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's the
you
thing.
know,
There's bureaucracy to get caught up in, and
you'd have
all
to
of
get,
these things.
You need the sponsorship and the budget.
yeah, you'd have to get paid enough, which, that speaks
Well,
to the
that would be
money
more than
aspect.
I'm making now.
Did you get your social security
Who?
Yeah, last month, but now we have
this
this
month?
month. Last month was assured. This, we're gonna get it. They're not cutting anybody out yet.
Well, I know, but mine usually comes on the 10th and it didn't come yet.
Really? Really? Did you get a letter in the mail
No,
saying they're cutting you off?
no, just just the stuff on the YouTube news saying,
Mine's
hey,
mine's the third
be
week
late.
in the third of the month, and it comes automatically like
Yeah,
clockwork.
the
So
third Wednesday of the month.
yeah,
That's
so
when I get mine.
we'll see.
Well,
Well, I hope you get it.
maybe
Might
they
not be
can
anybody in the office to send the checks. So
I
Yeah,
called
Well,
my
no,
I called my
it's
senators and
direct deposit.
represented. Right, but who knows,
they
right?
they
Doggy
have
puts the
problems with the software now.
Well, they're going to
They
have
said,
major problem if people can't afford to eat anymore.
Yeah.
yeah,
well,
Mine
sadly,
comes.
I don't think they care.
Yeah.
actually,
Mine
they're not
comes.
going to have a problem at all. They're going to be able to eat.
Right.
Everybody,
Mine,
Yeah, you're right.
mine's like yours, Larry. It comes the third Wednesday of the month,
Yeah.
and
right.
it's in my bank account on Monday morning.
And what?
Mine's supposed to be the third Wednesday, but it's in my bank Monday morning.
Is that every month, Court?
Yes,
my,
every month. Third Wednesday of the month.
mine's been
So
that way.
no. I mean, is it in your account every Monday afterwards?
Has been so far. It didn't
Okay,
start that way, but
yeah.
it started doing that, I don't know, maybe a year ago.
I
My
get
Well,
mine on Wednesday.
my
my
comes
my
Wednesday
mo-
morning about 4 in the morning.
Yeah, me too.
my mother's came like for 7 years. I took care of her finances, and like on whatever that Monday was, the 5th or the 6th of the month, or like, but just like clockwork, always.
It's
Yeah.
different. It depends on when you were born. Maybe it's
Ah,
the date or something as to when you get it. There's at least two dates that you would
mhm,
get it. We're on the Wednesday plan.
got it. It would have been
Court,
her birthday today.
how's your arm, Court?
It's getting better. Hopefully I can start getting rid of this thing part-time.
Yeah. I saw a past post where you were having problems again, so I thought I'd
It's
ask.
Yeah.
The new me is being really nice. I know you're not gonna be able to, none of you will be able to take that, but it's
Whoa, we just
Barry?
won't recognize you. We'll say, who's this guy?
yeah, exactly.
Can you guys?
We'll go some aliens taking over Barry's body.
Probably.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
No,
Yes.
You can hear me?
no,
yes.
we can't
Yes.
hear you.
Oh,
Of course,
fantastic. I'm
of
sorry.
course
I'm
we can hear
calling
you.
from the car and I couldn't get much to work, but I can hear you now. And hi, everybody. And Court,
We can-
glad that you're on the mend and hope that you can get that sling off soon, or like you said, part-time. Barry, my apologies for the last time I saw you and
Why?
whatever, my apologies. So,
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. I like had a tussle with you or something. I
That's
don't know.
because you're not Jewish.
I am
you're pro-
Jewish.
well,
I
then
am
you wait a minute. Then there's no reason why you should be apologizing.
My God.
No, I have Latvian Jews on my father's side.
No, it had nothing to do with you. So don't
No?
worry about it.
Okay, thank you. But
And
anyway, hi guys. And just for the record, I heard you talking about ages. I'm 61, so I think I must be older than Allison and
Oscar.
And
Oscar.
and Oscar.
Okay.
what?
How old
Wait,
are you guys?
Allison's
Allison's a
not
Seven.
baby.
61. How old are you, Allison?
How old am I?
She's 30.
Uh,
Look on your
no.
license.
I'm trying to think. I'm 57 now.
Oh,
My
there you
birthday
go.
was in
Oh, no wonder.
February.
You're a child.
You and Oscar are twins then.
What?
You and
Baby
Oscar are
girls.
twins.
I'm
But
going to be 58 this year in
but
Oh,
September.
Oscar
wow.
looks 10 years older
When's
and he
your
acts 20
Oscar?
years
When's
older.
your birthday, Oscar?
September 1st.
Oh, mine was February, so we're very much the same age. I mean,
Yeah.
September to February is not much,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm a September birthday. Anybody else here?
No, I'm February too.
February what?
28.
I'm the 13th.
Okay. Are you Pisces?
January.
Aquarius.
Aquarius. Oh, okay. Okay.
Hmm.
And Karen Gilbart is January too.
She here? I don't think she's
Now,
here.
not today.
Oh, okay.
Although she may drop in.
Uh-huh.
Mark Twain is the call the lad man made when the boat was in safe water, which was 2 fathoms, which is 12 feet.
Mm.
Ah,
What is that in relation to?
we were talking
They're
about Mark Twain before.
part-time.
Oh, we're
Oh
talking about
God, I
who
missed.
Barry looks like.
We're talking about
Actually,
we're talking about
Not
Barry
yet.
picking up extra money as going to schools and being a character.
Yeah, he lectures about
yeah.
Albert Einstein.
Oh man, I missed it all. Well,
That's
you have
okay.
to
That's
work
good.
on
That's
Barry.
good.
You have to work on your mustache to be Twain. You have to work on your mustache a little.
Yeah, you
But
need
he
one of
doesn't have
those.
to work. He doesn't have to
Already.
work on the curmudgeon part.
No.
Yeah, you want one of those Sam Elliott mustaches.
Yeah. Exactly.
Kind of like I used to have.
What?
Yeah.
Listen, I just got back from Florida. I haven't even shaved yet. So,
Why bother?
exactly.
Oop, there
Well, I
goes
went
another
to
one. Hold
Mark
on.
Twain's house in Hartford, Connecticut, and he had a calling card because he was like one of the early people that had a telephone, and it was like in this whole little phone room. And so he had a tray with everyone else's calling cards. They were like business cards, really. And anyway,
So
it's
you
pretty
left your
cool.
card there.
I don't think I did.
And then you
It's
get
a
a free
while ago.
breakfast if they draw your name.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay, I've got an art fair question. Okay, so as you guys probably know, this is the first time I'm going farther afield from Ohio and a little bit of Michigan. But I've gotten waitlisted to like 7 shows, and I don't know if that's like normal or not normal or nothing is ever normal. So,
I
just
I can tell you that so many people this year. I'm a reject this year, but so
oh,
many people I
great.
know are waitlisted.
Yeah, I
A
hear
friend of
that a lot.
mine, a friend of mine who's been doing this for, at least 20, 25 years, she got 8 rejections or wait lists this year. So I
Man,
don't know. And she
It
gets into
happens.
top shows, but
It
what
happens.
what's go okay, question though about ages and art
Mhm.
fairs. So I've gotten some questions like surveys after art fairs last year
Mhm.
talking about what's your perception of art fairs now compared to like 5 or 10 or 20 years ago. What's your I forget who sent me this one in particular. Maybe Crosby in Toledo. What is your perception of like the art? How has the art evolved? How old are you? Okay, so these questions.
Huh,
It
Yeah,
that's weird.
exactly.
sounds
Well,
like
since
Yeah.
something
you're a
I wouldn't
newbie,
send back.
since you're a newbie, you have nothing.
Wait,
You have no.
let
You
her
can't answer
finish.
those
Just let her
questions. So just
finish.
ignore them.
Please let her
Okay.
finish.
Yeah. Okay. Hello. 12 years doing this is not a newbie, Barry. May not be. I didn't cut my teeth as early
Oh,
as
I
you,
thought you
but
were just a beginner. I
no,
didn't.
I'm a beginner in terms of getting out of my comfort zone in
Oh,
Northeast Ohio and a
oh, well,
little
that
bit of
doesn't
Michigan.
matter. 12 years. Okay, I take that back. I just thought
Okay.
Right. So
I
can you go back?
misunderstood you.
Can you go back to your what you're talking about
Yeah,
now?
yeah, absolutely. So they're asking demographics and they're asking basically, what's your opinion of the art that's out there today compared to the art that was out there 20 or 30 years ago? I think they're trying to ask that question. And at the same time, find out like, I don't know, maybe at the Ask Your Director you can find out about this, but how many people are applying to shows these days? What is the caliber of the work? What is the competition? And are they trying to bring new people in and phase other people out? Or I don't know, like,
So
again,
I've never
how?
I've never seen those questions personally
Mm,
in a questionnaire. And
mm.
then as far as if you like the work or not, I'm not sure
That's a
what
jury
difference it
question.
makes.
No, that's a question
Right.
to the participants. I don't know why they're
No,
asking that
no, I
question.
know it's a question to the participants, but it should be a question to the jurors.
You know what, Larry?
Right.
That it should be a question to the direct about the directors, not the artists, because I find that the directors and the juries are basically incompetent except for a few shows, and so they're picking a certain type of person, and they're not equipped to know.
All right,
Should it be?
listen,
I think it should be the best art. It should be the
let's
best
just
artist
get
get
back
picked.
let's just get back to the conversation because the
It
best
is it is part of
artist,
the conversation. It is
excuse
the
me, the best,
conversation.
just listen, the best artist, if let's take the category of ceramics. I mean, there are more good people than can get into a show than space is available, right? But the best artist
No.
to you or to me, might be completely different.
Yeah,
All
okay.
things, let's just say all things being equal, that it's not crap, okay?
Case in point with my art. I experienced, I think I told you, those mock juries at St. Louis, and I did apply to the St. Louis Fair. The results, like haven't been released yet, but they laughed at some of my images, like laughed at them. And then like Rittenhouse in Philadelphia accepted me to both shows immediately, like
Well, okay,
immediately.
those are the craft shows, though.
But see, none of that means anything.
Well, no, I mean it's the craft show just because photography is not considered to be in the art show. But if you look at the artists who are represented in that show, I just got the email to see the other art. It's fantastic. I mean, it's beautiful work, fabric and leather and wood. I mean, it's really beautiful. So I was glad to see that. I was like, oh, great, fantastic. But it's totally subjective. It's the other thing is like
Yes.
what is good art is totally subjective. So
Well,
these people in St. Louis were like, "Oh, it makes me dizzy," and the people in Philadelphia are like, "Give me more."
And then
Okay?
there'll be different people next year.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is this: our business model is actually not something we can count on.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Just like the weather.
so, well, even less so. I mean, that's why it's good to have a lot of different things, in the air. Like
Yeah.
I count a lot on these relationships with clients. So if they don't
Mm-hmm.
go to shows, they could still buy from me. But
Yeah.
and then the juror, if you have 5 jurors, they're not experts on every category.
No.
they, you know, some people have that breadth of knowledge, but in general, it's not necessarily the case. So with plenty of really good shows, you'll see phenomenal work, and then you'll be like, how did that get in?
Mhm.
We're talking about looking at it from the level of not if you like the work personally or not, but if it's, you know,
It's
amateur work, derivative work, any of
right,
those things.
right.
It's
So,
Uh,
only about likes when it should be about what's the best artwork. My feeling.
uh,
Oh, and let me address something about this. Uh, I have because I actually saved some show lists of like who got in the shows and stuff. There used to be 30 potters in the show, and now there's 6 or 7. So you know what's wrong with these people? Well, I do know what's wrong. They don't
could
know.
less
They don't.
ceramic
Will you let me finish?
could
Allison, could
less
I
be
finish a
applying?
sentence?
It
Or because I'm
addresses
going to
what you
leave if
just
you don't
said.
let me finish. Okay?
It
Can
just
I finish?
addresses what you said. Could it be lesser applying? And answer, go ahead.
It It no, it's not. There's a lot. If there's less people applying, it's because they got fed up with getting in. I know a lot of great potters that stopped applying because they don't get in, and they're really good. They're better than a lot of these painters that get in that aren't very good at all. I think, you know, and I kind of know something. I mean, I don't know a lot, but I know enough. And I'm telling you, there's very few potters, so it's very hard to get in as a potter. And I think that's the hardest medium myself, but then I'm prejudiced. The thing is, the people that are doing the juring know so little about clay and what's good and what isn't good that it's you talk about subjective. It is all subjective. It's what they like and what they don't like. I personally believe that it should be the best artwork, best quality, and you hire jurors to that are competent. Why? Because we're professionals. Why? Because it has to do with our income, and that makes it more serious than if it's just some half-ass thing. It's do you understand? It's about money making, and it makes it more serious than if it's just like a side thing or and it used and there was a question about whether it was better artwork was better 20 years ago. I'm telling you, the artwork was way better 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Way
Well,
better. And
I agree. I would agree with that.
and I can't
I
prove
would
it, but
agree
I
with that.
that's what I think because I was there.
I would.
can
I
you
mean,
repeat your,
I before I started doing art fairs, I would go to them like all the time to buy presents for Christmas and stuff for my family. And yeah, what choices there were then. I mean, I'm just remembering then as a fair goer, um, was very different from what there is now. I hate to say that, but I think it's true.
So they were asking your age on this survey?
Yeah, well, it's anonymous, okay, but they're gonna crunch the numbers and match your age to your response to all the other questions.
Uh-huh.
no,
And
that's, wait, hold a second before you start going that rabbit hole. Start your question again because I didn't understand exactly what you were saying. Uh,
okay, me?
yeah.
Okay. So I think it was after the Crosby show, which is held at the
Doesn't
Toledo
matter. Just
Botanical.
tell me the question. Just
Okay. So they asked you your age. They asked you what you thought of like the art that was being exhibited now versus I forget the time span, but like in the past.
Mhm.
They asked you how you thought of like what your opinion was about new artists coming on the scene versus old timers. You know, there was literally some question about like, what's your opinion basically
Hmm.
of the work of new people that are coming on compared to work of people who are aging out.
Yeah.
And what do you think the future of art fairs is now that people are aging out, the good artists who have been doing it for so long?
Okay, so can I
It's
So
can
it's
definitely
you
definitely in a phase of transition.
it's
okay,
You know,
so
these all these art fairs, the good ones, started in the '60s, like late '60s, and now I mean, it is aging out.
it
okay, can
sounds
I
like the
answer
show
your question?
directors are asking you how they should operate.
Probably, yeah. They want information from us, our opinions, exactly to for them to make decisions about what to do next.
You
Right.
know
Oscar's
the
been
thing.
trying to say something.
Yeah,
Okay, first of all, when the artists are asking you for age, sex, uh, demographics, basically they just need that for grants. The state provide grants to the show to keep putting the show together. That's one of the way that they
Mhm.
get sponsors. There's
Mhm.
also knowing the demographic that are coming to the show, the artists that are appealing, what kind of artwork is getting appeal. It 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 helps with getting a sponsor, like and a sponsor they sell stuff to younger people would do that
Mhm.
if they got a proven track record. When it
Mhm.
comes to art in general,
Mhm.
the 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 it's all about art is all about your life experience and how you grew up and how you got there. So the
Mhm.
work that of a person of 20, 30 years ago is going to be totally different than the person that's just turned out 30 years old now. It's a
Mhm.
different, it's technology has changed. There's a lot of things. Doesn't mean that what you saw back then was better than what you see today or vice versa. And it's just the thing that most shows are missing is that it's all about technique. It's all about how pretty it looks, and very, very few people focusing in the messaging and what the artists are trying to communicating.
You
Granted,
know
that's more
something?
for
It's the
gallery.
same thing in the movie industry. They'd
Is
rather go with their run-of-the-mill, know they're going to make a profit action movies that they've done a million times before.
Formulaic is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, this is a question. Should beauty be a defining characteristic of aesthetic worth?
No.
Because to me,
beauty
some,
it's an
It could.
opinion. It's an
uh,
opinion. Nobody,
well,
what you
That's
think
only
is
one.
pretty
That's
might not
only
be
one
pretty to you.
aspect of it.
okay,
Yeah.
that's only one aspect of it. But some of the stuff that I see out there right now appeals, I think, like you're trying to say, Oscar, to people who are coming up in a very different world than what we did at age 60 or what have you. Because people are into what? Pokemon and, fantasy
Well, I can tell
figures.
you
And
this. I got Henry Cliff, which I think is one of the best in the industry right now. I like his work, but I would never put it in my house.
what is it? Who is it?
Henry,
What is it?
it's Clifton.
Well, how would you
Clifton
describe
Henry.
the photography? It's like not quite portraiture, right?
Yeah. So it's not, it's something that I like his work. I love his work and love to see it, but I would never hang it in my house.
But I think people are hanging things in their house that I would never hang in my house. I think people are hanging things in their house that I would never hang in
So
my
Yeah, but
this is why it's so subjective. You know, there's a whole bunch of jewelry out there that is it's like for lack of a better
cheap.
way, it's ugly. It's no, it's ugly jewelry. It's art jewelry, but it looks grotesque sort of. And
Uh
there's
huh.
another word for it. I can't think of it. And
Yeah.
but you know, if it's jewelry, it should be wearable. And I guess is it for you or I to say like if somebody else loves it, you know, they could jewelry you could put on a shelf, you could wear it. And so
Yeah.
I
Okay. I
just
I
yeah.
lived in Berlin for a year, and I just heard
Ah.
another. Well, no big deal. No, doesn't matter. But I heard a German commercial last year, and it was just a commercial for clothes or something, and it was talking about it was a woman designer, young, talking about the kind of clothes that she likes to design, and this was a hip, this is a commercial that is for hip people, and she said, I like to put something hässlicher in my designs, and hässlicher means ugly. Okay,
Okay.
so I
Okay,
want to
yeah.
incorporate something ugly into all of my clothes.
Hmm.
And obviously this is popular now. I mean, look at ripped jeans, look at whatever, but look at some of the
Well, ripped
art.
jeans have been around since I think the 80s. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
well,
I know,
no,
but
actually the
well,
60s. In the
Yeah.
60s, I guess you couldn't buy them,
Yeah, but now you
that
can
was.
buy them at Forever 21. Okay, you used to do it yourself, but now you buy them at Forever 21.
But
Whatever.
in the 80s, you could buy them though.
I'm waiting
Okay.
for bell bottoms to come back.
All right.
They're
But you know
already
what? You know
back.
what I'm saying? That the aesthetic has changed in 2025 to something I would agree with you is kind of grotesque and ugly. And you see skeletons and you see weird shit, in paintings and whatever. And it's popular. I mean, I see people buying this stuff, and there was always a niche market for that, but I think there's a much larger market for things like that. I don't have a good word to describe it. I don't want to
It's age
completely
related.
categorize it.
It's
Yeah, I think
age.
it is age related, but like it's I mean, I appreciate
But
art that is on
I
the
mean, I
edge,
sell my work to young people who have professional jobs and can afford it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
and young people, I mean, 30,
Yeah,
30-year
yeah.
olds, probably not 20-year olds, but some of it, for all of us, some of it could just be, the financial sort of situation.
Yeah. But I mean in the art market in Sotheby's and Christie's, they're selling Jeff Koons. Okay. He's blowing up balloons and twisting them into dachshunds. Okay, and buying a clown face from Kmart or something and putting it on a pedestal, and he gets millions of dollars. So we kind of talked about this before. I think to some extent the evolution of art to the point where you're at kitsch again. You get to
Well,
the point where you're at kitsch.
Did something freeze? Allison froze.
Well, that comes
I
down to
did.
actually having an
I
education.
first.
Yeah.
What?
You,
Yeah.
I,
So, but I think it's different now. I think it's different because of the fetishization of, I don't know, like
Well,
infantile, like Hello Kitty and Pokemon and fantasy figures from Japan or something. I don't know. It's
Hello
like
Kitty was
different.
in, like, when I was a child, like 7 years old. But you might be. I mean, here's the thing: people today in the United States grow up in schools where they have to have training for active shooters.
I know. I know
I mean, I can't even imagine.
that.
They
I
all
know. I know. I
and
know. So
there's metal
they want a
detectors in the
stuffed animal.
schools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
At
want a
our
stuffed
age, it
animal.
was
Yeah.
hide under the desk in case there was an atomic attack.
Exactly. Exactly.
and being in basements with asbestos on the ceilings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But
So, I mean,
different
I just don't know,
than
like when we're talking like subjectivity, it's not only subjectivity, like, do I like this ceramic piece versus this ceramic piece? But I think the whole nature of art has changed. For sure it has. But when it gets to the level of us, we're working artists eh, that are doing something differently from like Soho or Chelsea in New York. Okay, so sometimes we cross over, sometimes we meet halfway. But anyway, I don't know how to describe it, and I don't want to be dismissive of it. But I think that in terms of aesthetic appeal or quality, or if you want to say that there's anything that you can hold up as a measure of objective aesthetic worth, kind of like what Barry was saying, technique and an appeal to something like what the Greeks thought: balance, order, symmetry. I don't know,
Mhm,
something that appeals to everyone as being good. And I don't know if you can say that anymore if everybody's
mhm.
opinion is just different and everything goes like postmodernism,
But
just
minimally though, I think we could talk about craftsmanship, or like with paintings. I remember I was on a jury a long time ago, and there were a lot of painters as jurors, and they could tell if somebody was projecting something and copying that,
oh
like
yeah.
painting that
Yeah,
way.
that's
So they could
called
tell.
photorealism, and a lot of painters can just do that.
But people copy each other in every medium
Well,
too.
copying doesn't bother me.
I have seen a great
Well,
ceramicist, and people just copy her. I mean,
and then what about mold making for ceramics? How do you feel about that, Barry? I mean, I'm just asking the question.
Okay. if they make their own mold and pour it,
Okay.
then it's fine. If they're buying
Okay.
molds, I'm not happy. I'm not.
That actually makes sense because you want original designs.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, you know, with clay, it depends on what you're doing. If you have multiple pieces, it's actually stronger to make a mold. You make the first piece and then you make a mold of that and then you pour it.
Hmm.
And so therefore, like I'm going to do some pieces that where the pieces are connected and I'm not making a mold. So at those joints, they have to be really connected well because it
Right.
isn't that hard to break them apart.
Uh,
So, and you eliminate that when you have when you use the mold. So, I've known some really, really good potters that made molds, and they had great equipment.
like with jewelry, it's the same with casting. There are
Yeah,
people who cast and they're casting hundreds of them. It's this production thing that's different than somebody carving their own wax, totally original design. And and the way, some people just cast parts and fabricate the rest of the piece. I mean, there's so many nuances, and it shouldn't all just be deemed as bad. However, I think original designs are, um, let's see, you were asking Janine about qualifiers. Original
Well,
designs might be
yeah. I
one
mean, you raised
qualifier.
a really good question about originalism. I mean, that's how all
Originalism.
no, really, that's how all the avant-garde artists up until like today, or when it ended in conceptualism or postmodernism or what have you, is you always wanted to be doing the new. You wanted to be doing something different from the people who came before you. So from
Mhm.
figurative painting to impressionism to post-impressionism to cubism to abstract expressionism to postmodernism and conceptualism, or switch those last two. But anyway, you always wanted to be breaking new ground and doing something original, doing something of your own that's different from the past. Well, by the way, you're learning from the past every single time you go to a museum and you look at a Vermeer and a Velasquez and a Rembrandt
Mhm.
and everything else. You are learning about art, and your own artistic vision is being
Mhm.
shaped by the artists who came before you. So when you ask this question about originalism, it gets blurry, and I mean, it's a really complex question. It's a great question to ask and talk about, but like nothing
Yeah.
that we do is completely original because
Right.
we've
But let's
learned.
let's
never
just
will
take
be.
let's take a loop earring, which is a very basic earring. It's
Yeah,
been done, since I don't know, the Egyptians.
yeah,
But
hoops.
I have seen people take that concept and totally make it their own, and
Yeah.
Hmm.
and it's just brilliant. And I love seeing that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And but I think sometimes being, I don't know, unique, original, whatever you want to call it, sometimes that can be a deterrent to getting in. I'm going to just say
Yes.
as a
Well,
jeweler because I don't
actually,
know. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I
Well,
was gonna agree with you, Allison. And
La-
those people, I
La-
was gonna say, and those people don't get into art fairs because art fairs are for the middle
well, let,
ground.
Larry was just going to say something though.
well,
Yeah, I know.
that's why Juried Art Services shows you the artist's name in the middle of the presentation, so that you know you're accepting the person that created the concept instead of somebody that copied it,
Well, how would they know who copied what? But
because they have knowledgeable jurors.
Yeah,
well, one would
more
have to.
knowledgeable
But
jurors than the Zap ones. Is that what you're saying?
what I'm talking about,
Well, the few
and
shows that use juried art services, like the Smithsonian and the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
Yeah,
well,
but I don't know. I mean, who's really juring those shows? I mean, Smithsonian does share their jurors, but Philadelphia, I'm trying to remember if they do or
there
not.
is an East Coast bias towards those too. I want you to know.
can I
It's
throw
just
something out
that,
here?
go
I
ahead.
mean,
What, Gord?
everybody's talking about, art changing, and almost like I'm getting this feeling like it's bad. But
No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm trying to say it's evolved. And I mean, I'm saying, okay, I am going to say Jeff Koons twisting a balloon and putting it on a pedestal and selling it for millions of dollars at Christie's is worse, okay, is bad,
Definitely.
compared to anything that you can see in so many places that's not that. Okay.
But
Yeah, but that's not a
it's a
balloon.
brand. It's a brand also. I mean, he made a brand like Andy Warhol. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're just trying to piss somebody off, is the point of your art trying to make a statement, just make a statement outside of the art? Then I think you can't really buy that at an art
all the
fair. Okay.
all the
You
way to
can,
all the way to the bank.
Like
uh,
the banana duct taped to the wall.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
do you
which
remember
would have
there
been
was an
me.
artist? Do you remember there was an artist who put like gross things in formaldehyde, like a dead cow? Do you
yeah.
Yeah.
remember
Well,
this?
there in the 80s there was Piss Christ. I mean, this was one, I forget, one of the art shows at the Whitney or something. He pissed in a bucket and he put a
Yeah,
cross in it, with the rosary. He put a thing to
we
make
took
a
a photograph.
statement. What was it?
What was that photographer's name?
I can't. No, Mapplethorpe. He's different.
Thorpe, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
he didn't do that. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. He
No,
didn't do
he
that.
did beautiful pictures of flowers
Yeah,
and gay guys.
yeah, yeah. Very
Beautiful.
beautiful. But I mean, like, I don't know how to say this. I'm not trying to say that new art is bad, because I agree with what Oscar was saying about how we are all the product of our life's experiences and what we see and feel and do in the world. And all of that comes through our art. And so people who are born today have a very different reality from the reality that we had. We did not grow up with a phone in our hands. Okay, they
Mhm.
did. So they are
And
seeing and feeling very different things from what we do. And I'm just
it
trying to
also
say,
wait,
should we? Should
it also depends on what they're exposed to, right? I mean, I grew up
Yeah.
outside of New York City, so my parents brought us into this. So, you know, that also, sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I know, but the landscape that children live in today is a very different landscape. Like
Yes.
somebody said, they grow up with drills of being shot at. I mean, I taught at university, and it that hit me one day. I never asked my students that. I said, "How many of you, when you come into this room, strategically think about where you're going to sit and what you're going to do with your fellow class people who are in this room? Are you thinking, am I going to sit by the door? Am I going to sit in the back? Am I going to have enough desks to pile on top of us to break? I mean, every single one of them said yes. We are
Uh-huh.
thinking very strategically about where we sit, and can we count on the people sitting in this room with us to do the right thing? Not to
Hmm.
save their own asses, but to save all of us. Okay, so they are totally thinking about this. And so their reality is very different from our own. So, like you say, they want stuffed animals because, they
Yeah.
need comfort and they need solace. And so the art that they make is going to be very different. I totally appreciate that and understand that. I'm old and I can't relate to it at some level. I'm willing to accept that, just like people in the 40s couldn't relate to art in the 60s. And
Wait,
it's just
wait,
a
wait, wait.
generational.
Don't, but don't, no, don't rule it all out though, because you don't know. There might be things that you can relate to because there are
Oh,
people who
sure.
are able to transcend generations. Um,
Oh, sure. I
so
mean,
That's true.
I like cutting edge art. I like art that pushes the boundaries. I like art. I like to be exposed to art that makes me uncomfortable. Absolutely. I want that experience. I want that experience. So that is great that that's out there. But maybe it's the kitsch that gets me. Maybe it's the kitsch level that really gets me, because I get offended by that, because it means an appropriation of consumerism. And it means, even if it's mocking consumerism, it's embracing consumerism
so
as,
excuse me, when you say kitsch, are you talking about Jeff Koons again?
yeah, well, Jeff Koons is just an example, but I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a good example.
yeah, so that's
Can
kitsch.
I get
And
back to my point here real quick? Because
yeah,
Yeah.
what you're talking
absolutely.
about has nothing to
Yeah,
do with
yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
What I'm
Okay.
saying is, if you look at a car 20 years ago, look at photos from homes, floor plans, look at interior design
Hmm.
10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. It changes. Okay. What people, you know, colors, the end
Right.
color, there, changes,
Yeah.
all the time. All this is changes. And if your art is not kind of adapting and changing along those kind of lines, then, yeah, I can see why, they're asking.
I I have two comments about that. First of
Yeah,
all, the only thing that's constant is the change,
right.
right? And I prefer to be the one making the change as opposed to following the change.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make a
Or
comment about what you
have you
said,
seen
Cor.
the Pantone color of the year?
Yeah,
It's
What is it for this year?
it's
I thought that would
disgusting.
help my
It's
sales, but it hasn't.
mocha something. It's just
Yeah.
gross.
Somebody came out with something else. I think it was Pinterest. Their number
Uh-huh.
one color on their list is cherry red, and
Uh-huh.
all the other
Well,
ones bright too.
that's much better. I mean, that color of the year is like, can it
Yeah.
be a little more like drab and boring and the color of, I don't know, mud?
They said it was because right now people are uncertain and neutral colors make you feel safer somehow.
Really?
Well, and
Well,
the other
they
thing too is, you know, and I brought this up 20 years ago when I was an EMT sitting in a class, and the class was about how the different generations learn. And it's
Hmm.
like, and they went through it, and when they got to questions, I held my hand up and I said, how much of this do you think is actually due to the generation, or is it due to their age? And that people in a
Hmm.
certain age bracket
Good question.
learn
Good
certain
point.
ways. And
Yeah.
so I look at that, and I'm looking at, these different generations, and as these different generations get to a certain age, they all think the same way. It's not about what years you were born in, it's how old you are.
And Court, I would
it's
add the
both.
socioeconomic bracket because I read this article not that long ago about how students in Ivy League schools don't are not expected to read full books. They don't read full books. Just doesn't happen. They use Columbia University as an example. But I can tell you anecdotally, Eric is in graduate school at University of New Mexico. These are kids, they're in their 20s. They have to work, they have to get jobs. They were not born on third base or anything. And they do read. Last semester, he read like thousands of pages of book. I mean, he had so much reading to do, and they all had to read it too. So these are not rich kids, and there. I think that also, depending on what people have to do, makes a difference.
Well, I'll just tell you, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that people still read. But what in at CSU at Cleveland State University, they removed all the clocks from all the classrooms because people,
Really?
yeah, because they can't tell time. Students can't tell time. They don't
Oh,
know. No, they just look at the digital at the phone.
Oh
They
my
honest to
God.
God cannot tell
Well,
time.
yeah, but
Totally
it's
actually,
the
I
same thing,
understandable. They also can't count change or do
right?
arithmetic.
Or tie their shoelaces. They use
I
Velcro.
just heard that about not counting change. It was a news article. What do I hear something?
I
It was a news
saw that at
article.
I saw that at my local shop and
I
save.
experience it. I
Yeah,
experience it every
Me
People
day.
too.
have not
Me
been able
too.
to count change for 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Or
Yeah,
longer.
That's not
I
something
went
new.
into
It's been going on for a long
yeah.
time.
yeah.
I
If
went
Wow.
into a
something,
Target. I went into a Target and I had the cashier take a dime and say, "Is this the 5 cent one or 10 cent one?" That he asked
Okay.
me.
That's
or if it's
exactly what I just
something
heard
that's
today. Wow.
503 and you give them $5.03, they don't
So,
understand that because they want to make change.
somebody's not somebody's not muted and I hear them talking on the
Oh, I'm
phone or
sorry.
something.
We're at the It's me. I'll mute. We're at the pharmacy. Hold on. I'll mute.
You know what? My solution to that is if I tell them how much I give them what the cash, and I tell them how much I supposed to
Help
get
me.
back. I actually
I mean,
tell
look,
them.
people can't drive a stick shift either, including the military no longer has stick shifts.
That's a little more difficult than counting than second grade arithmetic. You learn
True.
how to
And
use a stick shift when you're, 18, No, you learn arithmetic when you're 6 or 7 years old.
Right. Well, I have to say it's a sad statement because I mean, is this why we're in the situation we are now that people can't count their change?
Yeah, and it's getting worse. But it's only America. It's not like Europe, places in Europe. They actually learned stuff.
Is it true? I don't know if they're not teaching cursive anymore, maybe, or they were and then were again,
That's another one. Hey,
which means you can't sign a check. Oh, of
Oh,
course,
what's
what's a check?
a check? I
yeah.
know. I know. What's a check? I
This is
send
how
one a month.
this is how you keep people down. I mean,
No, that's how they
unless I'm
accept
just
it.
acting old.
You are
You have
because
a printed
no, you're
image.
acting like to the far left. No,
Now,
Well,
it's
I
our
kind of
that's
feel
why
like
personal.
they
It's our
passed.
personal responsibility to know these things and to stand up for it.
actually I think it's our education system should be teaching arithmetic and
They do teach it. I think they do.
so you can't expect like an 8-year-old to know this personal responsibility, right? It's the whole society around them.
I did. I wanted to know those things. I wanted to take 10 books out of the library at a time. You know,
I Yeah, but
that's
maybe it was also your
personal
parents.
motivation and
Excuse me, Barry. It might have also been the society in which you grew up in, and maybe your parents and that kind of thing has a
those
huge effect.
sorry, Allison, but I think those are just excuses.
So we're not born in a vacuum. We
Oh,
are.
oh, really?
Why do you really? We're not born in a vacuum. We have these influences, whether we reject them or accept them, something in between. But certainly, our surroundings, our family environment, for good or bad, all those things affect us. The nature nurture situation. I mean, you
Well,
can't say they don't.
my parents encouraged education, so I wanted to be educated. I wanted to know things. So maybe it comes down to
But
your
not
parents.
everybody, not
Turn
everybody
down what you have
grows up in the
going.
same way. I'm sorry, I can't. There's so much noise in the
No,
background there.
Teresa had background noise. Go ahead, Al.
Quiet all
Anyway,
of a sudden,
Barry, I mean, had
Allison.
you been born to different parents in a different region, you, you might have lacked the curiosity or had the same curiosity. Who knows?
No,
You
you
can't
might be
say.
right, but I'd like to think that I had the curiosity no matter what.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I used to like be very interested and worried about, say, acid rain. And back then, you didn't have the internet, and I would write to Washington DC about it. But I feel like I was given the tools, and I knew how to write a letter. And, you know, we always wrote my grandmother, and she
And
would give us $1.
and you were personally motivated to do it, which is what I'm saying.
But that doesn't just come from a vacuum. It comes from I mean, if you're living in an environment, say, where you feel unsafe all the time, or everyone's sick, or there's a sick family member, I mean, people have so many different environments that they grow up in, and
So
again,
what?
some people lean into it, some people go against it, and
So
everything in between. It's
so
not
let
as
me
simple as what you're saying, though.
so let me ask you something. Oh, what I'm saying is very complex. What? So Allison, so are you supposed to just take it and accept it, or are you supposed to stand up against it? What do you
So
do?
how do you know to stand up against it, right? How do you know? I mean,
I was
I would
taught
say
I was taught that, and in college, that
you
was
just said it.
really
You just
pushed.
said you said you were taught that.
Well, you hear, your parents say stuff, so you listen to your parents, or
Right.
friends.
My father was outraged. I'm always outraged.
Yeah, yeah. I
Guys,
mean,
I'm gonna go because it's really noisy in my car and I can't make it not be. I can't mute it in the right way. So I'm gonna go. It's
we
lovely
can't hear
talking
it.
to you. So it's wonderful to talk to you, but I'm gonna go. Okay,
All
so
right.
I'll talk to you later. Love you all. Bye.
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 Yeah, it's a problem, Allison. And here's something else. All these things that we're discussing, we were discussing them 30 years ago, 35 years ago. It's the
Right.
same thing over and
Right.
over and over again.
Right. And the whole, is it art? Is it craft? That's been discussed,
Yeah, I won't
for
discuss that
50
one.
years.
I have that one worked out. But the one about like the one that really doesn't go away, and I don't know why, is the
Mhm.
buy sell problem. It seems like it's worse than it ever was. Whereas there was a time when actually there was a handle on it, but it's like roaches. You try and step on it and you don't kill them. They're no matter what, you can't get rid of it. It really bugs me. That's the
Well, it just seems, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but I know that jurors have a lot of people to go to vet, but it seems like when they're at the end and getting close, if they have any question, I don't know if all shows allow this or not. If they could go to an artist website, often simply that reveals a lot.
Yeah. But when you only have 10 seconds to make a
No,
decision, you're
I'm
not
talking
going to
about
a website.
I'm talking about towards the end. Can anyone else speak to this? Like, I mean, I've been on a jury where we do check out a website and see if it's really production work or
Yeah.
not.
I will
But
tell you, I
but
was talking with Bonnie earlier today,
yeah.
um, and she brought up that she's going to be really busy next week because one of the things that the guild does is they go through and they pre-qualify.
Yeah.
They pre-qualify every
Mhm.
entry
Hmm.
before it's judged.
Okay.
From the
I
name,
think they already did that.
and website, or
Yes,
what?
they go through and look at the work. If there's any question about whether it's buy sell, then they go investigate it.
Okay.
Basically, what we do is tomorrow we're going to go through all the work from everybody, and anything that looks suspicious, we stop, check it out, double check it before it goes to the jury. If
Hmm.
something
Mhm.
feels uncomfortable, we will reject it at that point, say that it doesn't qualify for the show. So
Mhm.
it's a goal is standards. So standards is done today, and then there's a group of 5 people for the 2D and another set of group for the 3D. But everybody that during each medium is in that field. And then for jewelers, I think that they use 5 jewelers for the jewelry, and everybody knows their stuff pretty well.
Hmm.
That's pretty thorough because with some shows, you could be presented with gorgeous images and you go to the website and you see it's all like basic stuff and they make that they might make that work, but that's not really what they're selling.
Hmm.
That's one of the reasons they have booth photos.
Right.
That's right. To see what's in the booth. If it's
But a
consistent,
lot of people fall through, I could tell you that for sure.
One of the things
you can
that's
fake it.
popping up on some of the craft, low production type sales is that people are stealing their photos and then putting that up for sale, but it's not really that. And then they get so successful at selling this whatever that the original artist designer gets canned because they're copying.
Hmm.
Yeah. That doesn't happen a
Well,
lot, but it does
that did
happen.
happen. Somebody was using
A jeweler.
other pictures, but not selling that work. And some
Oh,
of the
good.
pictures were from some of the pictures were from this website called Alibaba, which is,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
Amazon.
what?
It's like Amazon. They're a distributor of other small businesses.
Right.
Same thing
But
with
the booth shot was taken from a website that sells display cases, and that artist approved the website to show her work for the booth shot. It was stolen from that site.
One of the
well,
jewelers that stole the jury images used one of my booth pictures that I had done for another jeweler
Oh,
and just changed the posters on the back wall.
uh-huh. Wow.
Well, there's one lady that she designs these humongous crocheted hats. They're,
Mhm.
like they have horns, they have fins, they have all kinds of stuff on them. And she sells both the pattern, which is not cheap, and she sells the hats.
Mhm.
And she sells them for like $50. This life-size octopus that sits on your head and the
Uh-huh.
tentacles go down type of thing.
Mhm.
Well, somebody took her pictures. They made the octopus hat. She found out that they had bought the pattern from her, but then they sold it as their own work.
Ah. Hmm.
Uh, and then they started selling the pattern. They
Oh,
rewrote, but
that's terrible.
and they were using her pictures besides. And then
Hmm.
because theirs was like half the price of hers, um, they had a lot more sales, and hers got taken down as being copied.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that was on Etsy. So now she only sells through her own website, watermarks everything, and has a record of who's buying the
Uh-huh.
pattern.
Oh, that really
Hey,
sucks.
Yeah.
I was at a show once where a couple jewelers had exactly the same work because they bought it from the same place. Not
Uh-huh.
everything, but a certain part of their line. The low
I mean,
end, actually,
that's
you
the
know?
thing, but even high end, I could show you catalogs where you could buy completely made jewelry, and regular jewelry stores, buy this to have in their cases. They really make their money on repairs, but they have to fill up a jewelry shop, so
Mhm.
they spend a certain amount of money on this kind of jewelry. And I mean, I could order it.
You know what? You could have your designs made in Germany. What's the big German jewelry place that manufactures jewelry?
Well, I know of a stone place, Idar Oberstein, but that's not where you're talking about.
No. If you told me, I would say, "Oh yeah, that's the place." But
No, I
you
don't.
can get your jewelry made in Germany or in Thailand, and it's your design, and they have great craftsmen with a
I
whole
actually,
factory full of people.
I've met people who worked with uh, people in Indonesia and Thailand, and it's very interesting, um, how they do their process. And there's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't belong at the art fairs that we're applying to,
Yeah, I
given the
agree.
prospectuses. Yeah.
All right, folks.
I sometimes I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going to take off. I've
See you
Okay.
got
later.
I've got Zoom tonight, 7 o'clock. The links are all over Facebook. Ask a
Okay.
director. If you got questions?
Did you ever get an email from Eric? Not my Eric.
No, I did not.
Okay. Well,
I'll go back and check again.
mhm.
Do you know what domain name it'd be coming from?
It, I could tell you in a second. It could be Pocosin. Let me just look in my mail. Sorry about the delay. Um, it's loading. All right, you know what? I could just message you.
Okay, message me
All right.
his email address so I can search for it.
Yeah, it's Eric Burris, Burris.
Let me see if I can just.
Probably at Pocosin. Oh, I love how FedEx is they're supposed to have me sign for something. Oh,
I
So
hate
you're going
FedEx.
but they just leave it at the door. My gold.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I have a back door. I'm in the back, okay? And if they put the stuff in the front, and I always order stuff that I think people would want. So,
Hmm.
like, if people were somebody was on the ball, they'd come and get my package. Jewel Gold, that's like that could be that would make me nervous.
Right, I know.
All right,
Oh,
I'll see everybody later.
Okay, see you, Court.
All right, bye,
I,
Court.
Bye, Court.
Hi, Court.
Bye, Court.
So, Allison, hopefully they send it in a nondescript package so it doesn't
Oh,
look
they
like
do.
there's something
It,
in
and
it.
they don't have you. People wouldn't know from their name
Yeah.
also. So,
Yeah,
What's
but
the
it says
price of gold
gold handled
today?
with care.
now it's like over 2,900.
ooh,
Okay. Well,
Uh,
it's kind of staying steady then.
yeah, it went down below 29 yesterday, but it kind of went back up to, so yeah, it has been steady this high though.
Yeah, I wish I had something to sell.
The, the Dow is it's another big drop today. Or it was an hour ago.
Ah,
Yeah.
is it affecting art shows?
I think so.
oh, yeah.
I drop again today. And in the red, all three.
I don't know if it is, but I'll tell you that when the stock market was doing really well and people had free money because they didn't have to work to get it, we benefited from that. They would say, "Hey, look at I made all this money. Now I can buy something
Mhm.
Feel it.
frivolous."
So you know what I have benefited from, and specifically because customers have told me,
Tell me.
their social security for some people, it's just extra money. It's play money
Oh,
for them. And I have directly benefited from that.
hmm.
Me too.
And
With my own Social Security.
oh,
Well, yeah.
How many guitars now?
No, no. But I'm buying a lot of camera equipment.
I'm looking at it as extra money. I'm holding my own. Well, that's because I'm
You
willing to
still
do
have to pay
without.
off your van though, right?
For the second year in a row, I cannot pay off my van, which I was kind of hoping that after Florida last year and after Florida this year that I could do that. Unfortunately, this year, I'm where I was at before I left. Actually, wait, before I made my booth fee payments. So I'm like a few $1,000s ahead of that of last year, but not what I usually, I would call it breaking even. And if I count my Social Security money in there, I'm losing money. So I'm actually spending more than I'm taking in terms of the art fairs.
Yeah.
they put in a dum dum lollipop. Do you remember these?
Yeah,
Cold and a dum dum.
I like I like Tootsie Roll Pops better, but I haven't had either one in a really long time.
Yeah, I won't eat this because it's probably corn syrup now. And anyway,
That's not why, because I don't eat sugar products. Well, I
uh,
shouldn't say that. Unless you put it in front of me. Oh no,
mhm,
I like ice cream. I buy ice cream.
mhm,
But candy, I don't think so. And chocolate, I like chocolate chip cookies too.
yeah. So I don't know. Did we solve anything here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah?
No,
What's that?
I don't know.
we're never going to.
Just a warning people that are starting to get into things, what they are going to be up against.
Um,
hmm
Oscar and I have been having conversations, during the week and stuff about where the economy's headed and whether we're going to do well this year or do
hmm
crummy. And the answer is I don't know. I'm not willing to say that it's going to be bad yet.
I think it's impossible because there's so much up and down. You could do really well at a show, but like to me, everything is the federal government is very much with knee-jerk reactions, so it seems like everything could be up and down. And um, I don't know that there's anything we can count on except some luck.
I was in Starbucks. It's part of my routine in Florida, go to Starbucks for coffee. And and the coffee price was the same, but the first of all, the thing I like, it seems like in every store the stuff I like they discontinued. Like I like the blueberry scone to go with the coffee. They don't have blueberry scones anymore. You can buy a blueberry muffin, but they went from 275 to 425, and I just won't pay that. Not only that,
Mhm.
they made them smaller. They're like,
Right.
so who are they trying to fool? You
But
know,
that's been happening with like chip bags and things like, potato chip
I
bags, things
know,
like
I
that.
know. That's why, yeah, yeah. You know what? They sell those they switch to 5 ounce bags, and you got to look at the label, because at one time it was 8, then it was 7.5. Generally, 7.5 would be a full bag, but now they're selling 5 ounce bags at the 7.5 ounce price.
Hmm.
What's up with that? I mean, like nobody's going to notice that.
Shrinkflation, I think it was called.
What,
Robert
there's a
Reich
name for it?
coined that.
It's the
Robert
cost
Reich, I
of
think, called it shrink.
the cost of
Yeah.
Yeah.
eggs is driving everything up.
Hmm.
Now, I get my meds from Canada, and I have to order meds. And so I haven't done it yet because there's my bank in its infinite stupidity changed first they changed the routing number. So everything that I would get through that would come to my bank, I had to get a hold of them to let them know that to change the routing number so that I would get it or pay it. Um, and what else? Um, Yeah, and then so then they changed the online, the online app. So now you can't just switch over. You have to get out and then sign back up again. Pain in the butt. And then
Hmm.
when I went to do that, it said, "I'm sorry, we don't have you in our system." It's ridiculous. You know,
Yeah.
The- Changing something that doesn't need to be changed. I don't get it. So,
Well, banks are merging now, so not all of them will retain the same
well, they've
routing
always
number.
been merging. They've always been merging.
Yeah, but it changes the routing number.
Oh no, this is not nobody bought the bank. It's just they
Oh.
decided to do this. Security purposes or whatever excuse
Mhm.
they have.
They probably
Kaylee,
got
how are
hacked.
Kaylee, how are things in your area of the world? Are you getting rain?
We're getting rain. There was some this morning already. It's supposed to be off and on all day, and then tomorrow and Thursday.
Hmm.
Good,
Couple of
good.
days without rain, and then rain for a few more days.
Hey, about 10 days ago, Marquette had a blizzard. I'm glad, luckily I wasn't here. They had 2 days of intense snow. They got 20 inches. And then yesterday and the day before, the temperature was in the 50s. So fortunately, most of it is melted.
We had such crazy winds that the electric company was saying they may have to shut off all of our electricity, but it turned out to be just east of the Rockies.
Hmm.
But the winds were like 50 miles an hour. They were insane. And it's been pretty dry here, so you worry about fire, but thankfully, um, nothing bad that I know of happened. And then we got some snow, which melts right away, and some rain. So uh, we're always thankful to get that precipitation. Even if it's snow, I know it'll melt quickly because I'm not a fan of winter, but
I don't want to see
Well,
snow till
uh,
next year.
some of our burned out areas from the wildfires are now having floods and mudslides
mudslides, yeah, yeah, that's right.
because
So
there's
for
nothing to hold it up.
Uh, Windows users, Microsoft is discontinuing upgrades to Windows 10. So if people haven't done it, they've migrated to Windows 11, which I ended up doing today, but it was weird. It was typical Microsoft. They tell you something's wrong and you can't do it, but they don't tell you what it is. So you got to figure it out.
Hmm.
Fortunately, I have a friend that
They'll update
deals.
it though every week or so, and then it changes everything, and your tabs don't work anymore, and all
Right.
that.
I'm not upgrading anything.
You have to at some point though, because
No,
otherwise
you don't.
well, if you
Something's
had
not working.
if you had a system from like 15 years ago, it wouldn't work now.
That's
Right,
right.
right. But
But
I have too much invested in my computer. I can upgrade to Windows, whatever, 11,
11.
but I don't want to.
Well, don't you back everything up anyway?
Of course.
So you're all right.
But
so my phone upgraded, and now it looks like the email program. It looks like Play School, my first phone. I mean, there's see all these emblems on the side there. It's kind of it's like too much, too noisy for me the way it
What
looks.
app is that? I mean,
It's
what
uh
your
it's an
email?
iPhone.
No, your email address
Oh,
app. What do you use?
well, it's on my
G
phone, so it's just
Gmail, Yahoo Mail,
no.
Hotmail,
It's on my phone, so it's Apple.
Allison Mail. Well,
Um,
no, it's a
Browser.
program that's on your phone.
right, but it comes with my phone, so it's an Apple product. So I don't know,
Allison
is it
so the
Gmail?
thing is, you press the
Oh,
if you
it's
press
I
the
have my
top
own domain. What?
Oh, your own
What,
if you
Oscar?
press
domain.
the top right corner, if you
Yeah.
press the top right corner, you can change it back to what it was before. I think, or closer to what it was, because it was
Oh,
dragging me bonkers to last
okay.
update. But
Mm,
I cannot tell you because I cannot see it right now. But you can change it
all right. I'll
back to
try to
something
figure that
similar to
out.
what you have before.
Yeah. But
Because they changed it like a bunch of folders and things like that, and it was complicated even for me.
well, it's more the way it looks. It's too noisy, kind of. But
Oh,
Barry,
Yeah,
but
every
Barry, I have
morning,
my own.
I don't do
m- m-
okay.
every
Barry,
morning
I
I
have
go
my
in.
own domain. It's Allison
Okay.
at Anselman.com.
Oh,
So, but I have it's through Gmail, I think.
yeah, that's what I was asking through Gmail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gmail's a little better than Yahoo.
Well, if I can't get onto my mail, I could always log into Gmail. So it's like a nice,
Right, that's
right,
right. It's your domain, but it's really Gmail.
right.
I like my Gmail email account.
Mhm. But
They
what I
do a
meant
really
is
good.
just the way it looks on the phone. It's too, it's like Play School. It's like a child can use it. That's what I
Is it
mean.
Hey,
one of the senior citizen things? Because they have
yeah, listen.
special.
Have you ever
Ah, okay.
have you ever looked at the AARP? Oh, most of you don't get this, but the AARP magazine,
I get
all
it because I get my mother's mail still. So
they always ads for jitterbug, jitterbug phones, and like they treat us like we're senile, Oh, it's very basic, and all the numbers are big, and it's really
Right.
funny to see the ads.
And
some
one
people,
button call for help.
We're the last
Well,
generation that didn't have personal computers when we were kids.
I didn't have a computer even in college. I had a typewriter. It was a Brother typewriter. You could type the line, press enter, and then it would print the line. But
Oh.
yeah, so I didn't have a computer in college, although my father had an Apple IIe. And when I was in eighth grade, I remember I did a book report on it, and he had a Daisy Matrix printer. And the
I
teacher
love
had me retype it because she didn't want to read the Daisy
it.
Matrix.
That's great.
So it
Yeah,
was like a negative effect, I mean, my
yeah,
father was, he was an engineer, and so he was,
yeah.
and back then, there was no mouse, so you had to use the commands. But I would go to his house, and he had this thing, and I would do my papers on it, and then you can obviously change it. You don't have to retype the same paper.
Hey, I still have a book, DOS for Dummies.
Ah, in high school, you could
I'm
take
still using
COBOL.
Windows 95.
Wow.
No,
Yeah.
not Windows.
DOS was
Office
before that.
90, Office 95 or Office 97.
You
I
know
Whatever.
had
what though?
worked
You
on it.
probably don't have the security.
I just use it for Word
Well,
Okay.
they're not connected to the internet.
and
Uh,
Access.
yeah,
Ah,
so nobody's
okay.
gonna hack into it. You're not in the
I
cloud.
do have a manual typewriter and some typewriter ribbon just in case.
Wow, I'm amazed. I
That's,
haven't seen one in a long time.
in eighth grade, we had to take typing, and we had manual typewriters with no keys. So
Yeah,
I actually know how to type. And it was not just, it was girls and in my day, it was girls and boys in everything, in home ec, in shop class, everything.
yeah.
So back when things were more liberal,
Is that liberal? I thought it was more. Well, I don't
inclusive.
know. There was no separation of girls and boys in my school, so I don't know what
Okay,
that was.
okay,
Well, that
good.
was at mine, and
Although,
I'm you two in age.
I
Girls
did
took
a
home ec and boys took shop, and never the twain shall meet.
Really? Wow.
and girls
I
took
mean, I loved
homemaking.
shop.
Girls
Yeah,
took homemaking, but there was a choice. There were guys that took homemaking, and there were girls
We
that took shop.
we had to take
it wasn't
everything.
allowed where I was.
Hmm. I loved electric shop. We learned how to wire things, and my father also taught me how to wire things because he was an engineer, and so it wasn't you're a girl, you can't do that. The stupid
No.
mentality that we're living in now. I mean,
Is that the way it is now?
apparently it's the mentality of the people running our government, right? That
Mm, I don't think
women
so.
should. Are you kidding?
No,
Are you joking? They fired women from all these government agencies.
they fired everybody.
They think women should just be in the kitchen and having babies.
Well,
Have
you
you
hear
not
some
heard
of
that
that.
rhetoric?
I hear some of that, but not a
Some
lot.
of that. That's part of Project 2025. I mean, it's like, let's
Not
bring
part
us
of our
back to the,
culture.
well, it's not. The thing
If I
is,
ran a
before the
corporation,
19,
listen, if I ran a corporation, I would want to hire women as my execs because A, they're more ruthless and they actually do the work. So, so I would actually be hiring women, but then I might be a dinosaur.
well, but it might depend upon the individual too and not their gender. So who knows, right?
That's right.
Mhm.
Well, part of it's cultural too, but
Mhm.
I know there's a couple of small charity groups that help overseas.
Huh?
One man helps very low level Indian families. They will not give the money to the man of the house. They support the women because the
Uh-huh.
woman will use the money to actually build wealth for her family, whereas the man will take all his friends out to show him how big of a guy he is now that he has his own business, and he'll take them out to lunch and to drinks, and they won't have anything to show from his,
You know,
you know,
you can't
company.
trust
Interesting.
the Indian culture because they still have a caste system.
Yeah,
So,
well,
which
that's part of it. But this guy is from India, but he says
Don't we have
he will
don't we have a caste system here too?
not
no,
Yes.
the
no,
one,
Mm, kind
no,
of.
not to the
not
same, no, not even close to the same degree.
Mm,
yeah.
No,
mm.
Allison.
Okay, let's talk about what was it called? Redlining, where certain people would never be able to get loans from banks because of the color of their skin.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
That
and
no,
look at and women. Well, okay, you got me on
And
that one
women, yep.
because women could not get like okay, and even if they could get a loan for like a
Hmm.
house, the percentage rate was higher, and it wasn't that long ago. So I'll give you that.
Hmm.
Okay,
Right.
you got
So
that. But
so
I don't call that a caste system.
when I was in college, they were handing out credit cards. You didn't need to fill out an application. Didn't matter your gender or anything. And right, women like my mother's generation, they weren't able to have credit cards. I mean, like children,
So
really.
when did women get to vote? Get to vote? When was
Um,
that?
was that about 80?
1970s?
Pardon?
18.
What'd you say,
before
Barry?
it was state, because some were back in the 1800s. If they were in the right state, they got the right to vote. But
But it
not
was
all
about
men could vote either, because if only property owners at one time could vote in some places.
right.
So if
Yeah.
you were a
It,
renter, forget it.
Well, initially you couldn't vote unless you were a property owner.
Yeah, that's what I
And
and
if
said.
they didn't
and
sell you
and a man.
property, you couldn't vote.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, the 19th Amendment passed in 1920. So that's when it became an amendment. So Kaylee's right, though, in certain states you were allowed to vote, uh, but 1920. So not that long ago.
See, Allison, you have a double whammy because you have the Jewish thing where you couldn't live in certain places, and you have the woman thing where you got prejudice. So, I just have the
But
one.
I didn't grow up in that atmosphere, though. Interesting. You know what I mean? Um, so in fact, I used to work at this, I waited tables at this private club in Boston,
Hmm.
and their liquor license was being challenged. There could only ever be 500 members, and their liquor license was being challenged because women could not be members. They could only have widows' rights, and they, didn't want to lose their liquor license, so they had to allow women to become members. Uh,
Oh
so,
yeah,
and that was in the 80s. That was in
a
the 80s.
quota. How many women could they hire to satisfy the quota? I mean,
Well,
there's a lot
Harvard
of
had a quota. Harvard had quotas for and the
yeah,
other Ivy Leagues, only a certain amount of Jewish people, only a certain
yeah,
amount of, other
yeah,
types of people. So, yeah.
yeah. And there might be some remnants of that, but if you extrapolate, it's way better than it was.
But now we're going backwards because of this stupid, you know,
Temporary insanity, as far as I'm concerned.
okay, I hope so.
I'm not willing to give in to that, Hey, there's a lot of people that are getting angry, and that's why I'm kind of hoping that the stock market crashes, because all those very wealthy people they need something like that to get them to move because there's no incentive. If they're making plenty of money, they don't care. But if they start
Right,
losing their
right.
money, if their wealth is halved, you
Actually,
know,
I believe today there's a bunch of heads of corporations that are having a meeting with the dumpster, because they're not happy now. And remember, if you and I can't afford to buy shit, then we don't support,
well, I know
those big
that's right.
corporations.
That's right.
And I've
Well,
been saying this for years. Like
Well,
these
it's true.
corporations depend upon us to buy stuff constantly.
well,
Yeah.
somebody put out a report. They said, if the stocks tank, he buys them cheap, then he removes the tariffs and the price goes up, and he's,
Hey, my
So
money's in.
I read that. I read something about that too. It basically gives the oligarchs a chance to buy things cheap. And now
Well,
about the
but
airlines,
everybody can buy things cheap. Like I have my
not if
money
you
in
don't,
cash.
not if you
I
don't
don't
have
have it
money
in
to
the
buy it.
stock market. And other times when this has happened, I haven't pulled the trigger, but I can't wait for it to go way down and take advantage of the system if I live that long.
well, that's the other thing.
I'll probably make my money after I'm dead.
Yeah, just like Picasso, no, Van Gogh.
The
Van
very
Gogh.
Yeah.
next day, actually, the very next day, the economy's going to take off.